Marianne?
What, almost 40 years.
40 years. Ronnie, how long have you known Marianne?
I just met her yesterday. Maybe about 20.
Marianne Gallagher was very active working with the Center for the Living with Dying. She specifically worked with people who had contacted AIDS or were HIV positive during a time when nobody was talking to people if they were diagnosed. And one of the things about Marianne is I have never met anyone so loving, so kind, and so ready to help people as Marianne. She has this ability, if somebody's in need, to be able to help. She is running the Recovery Cafe is the name of the place you're running right now.
Well, volunteering.
Volunteering. Well, I don't ever see you volunteer. I quite often see you running things.
Exactly.
And to feed the homeless, the people that are on the street. And she has done this so many times with her life because she volunteers. Even when she was working as an RN, she volunteered to help people. And that is so amazing when you have somebody who, we have many people like that here in this room, but for Marianne, to me, she is one of those that set the standard of how to move forward and how to help people find out who they really are. Please welcome Marianne Gallagher. Marianne, I'm going to let you speak all the way till 5 till, because we might stop a little early. She was saying she was going to speak for 10 minutes. And so
No, we want to hear more.
We want to hear more.
We'll see.
We want to find out what we can do to help the world. Come on up.
I'm going to go sit next
Hey,
to
Clyde.
this good-looking man if I
Clyde.
don't know. It's always my choice.
Clyde.
I promise not to tickle her knee, okay?
Hey, Clyde. Clyde, will you turn turn on the lights over the speaker, please?
Actually, I look better in candlelight these days.
You look great, Marianne.
Thank you. Thank you, that's kind. Thank you, Dottie and Corky, for inviting me today. We had lunch, and Dottie said, and Corky said, would you please come and talk about the spirituality of volunteering?
Thank you.
And it was like, oh my, that's a lot. I just feel very honored. I love coming here. I have my own church that I go to. I mean, not that I own it, I just go to it. There's a party that always is drawn here, so whenever I'm invited, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to come, I'm going to come. Dottie and Corky, and just make my heart smile. They always have. Dottie asked me to speak about my own experiences, and I'm always more comfortable speaking about someone else's, but today we're going to do this. So I thought I probably should, I hardly need a microphone. I have 4 children and a deaf husband. I can be heard enough. I thought I'd better look up volunteering, and then I thought I'd better look up spirituality, and then I decided that I went to Wikipedia, and I went to the dictionary, went to Oprah, and then I decided it would probably be fine if I just talked about my own concept of it. Volunteering to me is giving service without pay, but you get back so much more than you give. You know, you give 5 minutes and you get back blessing after blessing after blessing. So the paycheck, while it was nice when I worked, I don't miss it. I'm just grateful for the blessings. Spirituality for me is kind of threefold, or maybe fourfold as I talk, but one is the faith in a higher power. It took me a while to give up my controlling the world, but I did. A belief in grace in our lives and a need for grace in our lives, and a trust that I am where God wants me to be, even if I'm uncomfortable about it. You know, sometimes I'd rather be somewhere else, and sometimes it's like, but you don't really have to be where you are. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience. I'm Irish, so I tell stories. I can't hold a statistic in my head even, for 5 minutes. So I can only talk from the heart. Some of the joys of volunteering is that you get to meet angels. Sometimes you get to witness miracles. And sometimes you get to see grace in action. And it's not about the volunteer, it's just about the universe responding to the volunteer. all of you volunteer, I'm confident in it. You participate in school, you help other people, you make meals, you read to children, you support events, you create a beautiful boutique for people like me who have no talent. And the gift to me has always been that I meet people that I would never have known. I might never have known the people who have blessed my life so completely. Janet, Dolores, Ronnie, of course Dottie and Puffy, every one of you that I've ever met before, Patty, it's like, thank you for this gift. And my philosophy is if we volunteer a smile, which doesn't sound like so much, but some days it's hard. You know, you want to and you volunteer a smile, you're going to make someone's day. And sometimes that saves a life and you don't even know it. You don't even realize that. So I'd like to tell you some of my stories. They're not about where I work right now. I volunteer at the Recovery Cafe San Jose. We are downtown. And we work with people who are living with addiction, homelessness, mental illness, alcoholism. And these are my people because this is my family. So I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity. I'm in awe of the courage, the dignity, and the resilience of people. If I have a headache, if the whole world knows it, I'd like it on the front page of the Mercury News.
Yes.
People deal with incredible challenges and without a whimper. Just amazing, amazing people. So I'm just very blessed to be there. But I'm not going to talk about any of that today because of confidentiality issues. I'm one of those people that's a stickler for it. So I'll tell you about some of my old people. Some of the joys of volunteering is you get to meet angels. And some of the angels are very tricky. You know, they're very frisky people. They're very tricky spirits. So you don't always recognize an angel. So I was sent to support a couple who were, I was a volunteer, and I was sent to support a couple who were taking care of a beloved friend of theirs. This is many years ago. Nobody's identifiable, and I changed names anyhow. I'm not sure if it's confidentiality or paranoia, but I'm very careful.
Or maybe you just forget.
Or maybe I just forget. Yeah, that would be a biggie at this age. But I went to see them, this couple, and they came in and they offered, I came to this home, very poor home, apartment, very poor, lovely people, and they offered me a chair, and it was, all the chairs in the room were hard except this one very old but very comfortable chair, and I was raised not to do that. I said, oh no, I'll take, you know. No, take this one. No. So after much ado, he said, you know, we clean the needles out of this chair. We're heroin addicts, and so that chair is safe. That's the chair for me. I sat down very comfortably, and we talked, and I just fell in love with this couple. They were just so wonderful. And then they asked me if I'd like to see the gentleman they were taking care of, and I went in, and the room was so shabby because it was so poor. He was immaculately groomed. His sheets were perfect. The room was sterile. It was absolutely, but full of light and love. Absolutely. I'm a nurse. I don't think I could have done that. I don't know that I could have created a space so sacred and so clean. So, needless to say, we became very good friends, and I was very grateful for the opportunity to have met these two wonderful people. And one of the things was I went in as a grief counselor, and I had just lost my mom, and she knew that because I knew the male partner very well. And she asked how I was doing, and I said, how kind with all this going on with them. I mean, they've been in and out of prison, they have been homeless. And I said, I'm doing remarkably well. And I said, I'm really doing okay. And she said, yeah, it takes a while when you lose your mother. It takes a while.
Wow. I
said, how long does it take? And she said, for me, about a year. I swear to God, about 10 months, I started really feeling the guilt, the grief, the sadness, the loss. And I know, I'm so grateful she told me that because I would have not known what was happening to me. I wouldn't have recognized it as grief that far along. So forever, forever they're in my soul. So we talked about angels. The belief in grace. I did an AIDS group. I facilitated an AIDS group for many, many years. And we had a morning one, and we had an afternoon one, and we had an evening one. But the evening one was very different than the others because some of the men were still on their feet. We had men and women in this group. And we had a tradition that if somebody went in the hospital, we would light a candle in our group and send them all the love and healing and goodness that we could out of this loving group of people. And one of our members, I'll call her Mary, went into the hospital, and we made a commitment with her. She knew she was going to have to go in. I don't remember for what, but she had AIDS, what procedure it was. And we said, we will light the candle at exactly 7 o'clock when the group meets. And she agreed. And I gave her one of those. They would just come out, those things that were supposed to look like candles. They were LED. So I sent her with one, and we did that, and then they'd bring it back when they were healed or better. And so 7 o'clock came, and didn't the executive director, who usually ignored my existence to my delight, called me out to tell me something, some heinous thing I had done wrong. And I didn't get back into the room till 7:15, and I felt awful. We had promised her. So when I got home that night, she called me. We're not allowed to give out our phone numbers, remember, Janet?
Oh, yeah.
Of course, mine was all over town, so.
Or a good time call.
It was one of those, because I got it at 1 o'clock in the morning. But she, my beloved client, we call them, she called me and she said, I feel awful. She said, but something happened. I need to talk to you about it. And okay. She said, my doctor came in, a resident came in, and he had a million questions for her. And she said, he kept asking me things, and I kept looking at my watch at 7 o'clock, you know. And she said, I didn't get to light the candle till 7:15, which was exactly when we lit ours.
Whoa.
It was 7:17, actually, I remember. And she said, he got as far as the door, and she said, when he got to the door, he stopped, and he just stood there, and he turned to her, 7:17, and said, what just happened? Now, he's a scientist, you know, what just happened? And she said, I don't know what you mean. She did. And he said, well, all of a sudden, something happened. The room is filled with, it's changed colors and light, and,
Oh my
it's
God.
warm, and it's happy. And she said, oh, I can't imagine. But it might be that my group lit the candle and sent all that to me. And I remember thinking,
Yes.
I was in charge, 7 o'clock, you know. God was in charge, 7:17.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that reminder.
I had a minister tell me one time that God could do a lot easier if I'd get out of his way. I was very offended. The last one is being open to witness a miracle. And I'm making sure it's 10 up, so I don't, because I could just put for days.
And do it. Just go.
So, witness a miracle. I belonged to a church called Santa Teresa Church at that time in South San Jose, and a group called us and asked the church if we would sponsor and help a group of disabled people who wanted to have a mass in the park. That was something, and a barbecue. And we were thrilled to do it, absolutely thrilled. Not me. I'm from the city. Plunk me on cement and I'm happy. Put me around trees and animals and squirrels. Oh, good God. We went. And I went with Grace. I went with Grace. And it would be a small group of people. So we made hot dogs and hamburgers and all the stuff you bring to a barbecue. And the day came. I was very excited. And the people came. And we had this small group prepared for it. And then the people came. And then the people came. No matter where you look, there were people in wheelchairs coming. And my only concern, of course, is the food. God forbid someone should go away hungry. I mean, in an Irish house, that should never happen. And they were such beautiful people, and I didn't want them to be disappointed, you know. And so I said a little prayer and just trusted there was nothing to do because there was no place to go. We were in the center of this, in my mind, this jungle in Santa Clara County. And I was just, I said, please God, let us have enough to feed them. And then a miracle happened, you know. The couple next to us, the family, large family next to us, walked over and said, it makes me cry, will you take our hot dogs and hamburgers? We have enough. Now they could have fed their family when they got home. And then another family came over, and I'll never forget it. She gave us, you remember those big green Tupperware bowls?
Yeah.
She gave us a big green Tupperware bowl full of homemade potato salad.
Wow.
She said, my family gets this all the time. I think your family would like to have it. It went on like that. People said, here's our brownies, here's our cookies, here's some more meat. It was, at the end of it, we had leftover. We had leftover, and we had fed the multitudes. And I thought to myself, this is the loaves and fishes. This is that story of Jesus where you don't have enough and then all of a sudden you have leftovers. Now, it wouldn't have flown, the story of the hot dogs and hamburgers. We had to have loaves and fishes. I remember thinking, this is a miracle. This is a Santa Clara County miracle. We went home with so much stuff, and everybody was fed. I worried about people swallowing. Would they be able to swallow? And I didn't. Some of them were very, very challenged. Oh, they swallowed fine. So that's some of my spiritual experiences. I just wanted to tell some funny ones because.
You can go as long as you want, don't.
Oh,
We're enjoying this so much, Marianne.
Yes.
well, I have some cute ones that I never wrote up in my reports to United Way. One of them was I was visiting a friend of mine, Richard, in Provincetown, Massachusetts. If you're not familiar with the Cape, Provincetown is known as P-Town.
Right.
It's a Portuguese fishing hamlet and the gay mecca. It's a fabulous place to go. And so I'm there visiting my friend, and he said, I volunteered for something. I wonder if you'll help me. Of course, I would love to help you. What are we doing? We're going to find marijuana because it's dried up in Provincetown. I don't know how to do that. I said, my idea of getting high is a big bag of M&Ms. Remember that, sister? Absolutely, said I. And we did. We went place to place to place to find marijuana because with people with AIDS, they needed the pot to be able to keep their food down, to get some energy to sleep at night, to relieve some of the pain. Well, we didn't find any. I will say we were not able to find it, and he was heartbroken. And when we got home, a friend of his had sent him a big box of cookies, which made me very happy. Homemade cookies, and it wasn't. And I said, "Did she make those cookies for you?" And he said, "No, she grew them." And I'm thinking, she grew cookies? I want to learn how to do that. What it was beautiful, pure marijuana that he could give out to the people who needed it the most.
Yay.
You know?
How timely.
Absolutely. I have to talk about Ronnie. I got his permission. I would have done it anyhow. I was volunteering at the DeFrank Center, the Billy DeFrank Lesbian. No, I was working there, the Billy DeFrank Lesbian and Gay Community Center, but volunteering to get stats on the LGBT community for the county, so we could serve them. And sometimes I get my job and my volunteering confused. And they couldn't get into the leather community. They were having a very difficult time. My boss was from England, and when he was annoyed at me, he would call me Mum. And so, which I think he was hoping I might be. And, and I hear him, he's on the phone to the East Coast, and he's saying, we can't get into the leather community, we're having a really hard time. And I said to them, I'm listening to this, and this is a huge international firm he's talking to. And I said to him, the leather community? I'll get you into the leather community, the leather gay community, straight community, whatever you want. And he said to me, how would you make, hold on a minute, he said, Mum here can get us into the leather community. And he's looking at this, at that time, middle-aged, mother of four. And I said, I had Mr. Santa Clara County Leather over for dinner last night. He'll get you in. He gets back on the phone and he says, there's parts of Mum we had no idea. So my last story is about my friend.
No, not your last.
Oh, God, I could go for days.
Yes.
No, it's my next list. I want to talk about Dolores. I didn't ask her permission. But we were at the Center for Living Dying, and we had all of a sudden an influx of Spanish-only speaking people, and none of us fluent in Spanish. My high school Spanish had long faded, and as was the case with the other volunteers. And I always pray, I pray for what I want, and then I also pray how I need to get it. And I said, God, we need someone who speaks Spanish here. We need someone who's really sensitive and knowledgeable and kind and good, and she needs to be bilingual. And Dolores applied, and we got Dolores.
Yay!
My last one, and I promise it'll be
No,
my last one. My friend Dale. I met Dale at the moment the earthquake hit in '89. The walls went like this, the windows bent. I've never seen that phenomenon before. And I approached him and said, I need to learn about gay men, and I need to learn about AIDS, and I've decided you can be my teacher. And he assured me he wouldn't, and he was. And he became a very precious part of my life and my family. But the Walk for AIDS in '94, the Center for Living with Dying did the Walk for AIDS. We were in charge of the course. And he was very sick. He was very, very, very sick. He had a brain infection. I have his permission to talk about him. Actually, he loves it. Brain infection.
Yeah,
and and he just couldn't get out of bed. And I kept looking at him fading and fading, and it was the Walk for AIDS coming, and I thought, this is not okay. This guy's going to die if I don't get his bottom out of that bed. And I said to him, I need help. And he said to me, did you not notice I'm dying? And he said, I did pick up on it, but you can't go yet. I need you at the Walk for AIDS. And he said to me, you're a nurse. You're a Marianne. I said, I know, but you need to help. I really need help. If you can't do it, though, Catholic guilt, if you can't do it, get someone else. The day of the walk, he gets out of bed. The day before the walk, he gets up to assure me that he can't do it. The day of the walk, he gets up, and I put him on the corner of the Alameda and Race Street. It's a treacherous corner for anybody doing a walk. It's a and that particular year, they had decided to do the sidewalks all the way on the Alameda. And I asked him if he could do that, and he said yes. And he, oh my God, he was so sick. And I just had a sense, I prayed about it, I had a sense. So anyhow, the day comes, he's an ex-Marine. There's no such thing as an ex-Marine. He's a vet. And I put him on the corner, and I have a chair there, and I have water and everything, and I go around, because we go around the course. And I come back, and he has the entire Walk for AIDS, like the bridge on the water quad, the red quad, da-da. Everybody is in order. He's directing traffic, everybody is stopping. It was the most amazing sight. Every time I went around and I came back, that's how it was. Wow. He was in charge. Everybody was having a ball. Everybody was in order. The Marine had landed. You know? The next day, he of course went back to bed. That was October 17th, I'm going to say, around that time, Janet, right? 94. He died December 6th.
That's right.
But he talked about that Walk for AIDS.
Oh.
God wanted him there. He wasn't comfortable about it, but that's what. And once he got there, he bloomed. He was absolutely blossomed. So volunteering is a gift. I mean, it's a gift to us, the people who volunteer, to you when you volunteer. You know, it's a gift to the people who receive our volunteering, but it's so much more what we get for ourselves, because you have that little tiny feeling of, thank you for the privilege of being in this. Thank you for the privilege of meeting these people, of being on their journey for a moment or two, and they enrich our lives. And I have sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and think about somebody from 30 years ago. You know, it's like, thank you, thank you. So thank you for letting me
Well,
share.
one more time, tell them about when you decided to retire and what happened to
Oh,
your
dear God.
retirement.
I decided to retire. I knew that my job, I always know when it's time to move on, and I like change, and I felt like it was time to retire. And this end of the story, I'll tell you the end before the middle. I felt this need to retire, I just needed to retire. My daughter went through a divorce, became divorced, and came home to live with me for 2 years with her children. So God really did want me to retire, because I needed to be home. But that wasn't the point. I decided to retire. It was time. I needed to rest my weary soul. I needed to clean my house. I needed to organize my closets. So 2 weeks into it, I'm at Goodwill every 20 minutes. My closets are starting to be magnificent, empty but magnificent. But I don't like my curtains. I don't like the drapes that have been up for 30 years. I hate the carpet. What a color. Who would have picked that? My husband, who I've been with since I'm 17, on and off, I look at him and I think, oh God, he's just a pain in the ass. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And at 4 weeks, I thought, oh, this is not working. So I called the friend of mine who's an AIDS nurse, and I said, could you use a volunteer? I hadn't been trained. Could you possibly? She said, come right down. So I did. And 6 weeks, it was like, oh, you know, the drapes, I still like them. Carpets, the same as they've ever been. And you know, Bill's really turned around. So now when I don't go to the cafe because I have nothing else to do, he'll say, you know, you probably should go into work today. That's what you should do. They need you today. Thank you so much for letting me tell my story. Thank you. Janet, please. Walk for AIDS. I'm driving around. I asked Janet to stand on a street corner. No comment about Janet on the street corner. I play her guitar because I put her in a place where everybody's so exhausted they can't, they can hardly get. I come around and her feet are not on the ground. She's levitating. I thought, oh, well, that's Janet. Everybody's singing with her. They're, they're no longer tired. I come around the second time. Her feet are still off the ground. Third time I pull over and I said, did she ever put her feet down or has she been on her, levitating the whole time? He said, I'm not sure, but we're having a wonderful time.
We still have a half an hour.
No, I know what this time crunch thing was about, because she said, I'm only going to talk for 10 minutes. And I said, no, I know you can talk louder than that. I know you can talk louder than that. And so she was adamant, yeah, but I've only got 10 minutes to talk. So that's why I'm giving her more time and kind of forcing her to do that. I'm like our wonderful Marianne. Only I'm a little bit more forceful in that people, if they don't volunteer, they get too scripted. I volunteer them. Anybody in here be volunteered by Dottie? Raise your hand.
Oh, I have.
And I say that, there's one person here who I want to acknowledge because I hope he'll help us again. Jim, Boris's wonderful husband. Every Christmas, next Saturday, we're going to be putting up the tree. And we want all the volunteers we can get because we need that. And it's fun. But our wonderful Jim gets on the ladder and suspends things from the ceiling.
Wow.
And you are a paratrooper, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And he likes being up high, and so it's just that wonderful thing. And Jim, do you think you could help us again this year?
Of course.
Of course, I'm putting you right. See the volunteering I have for you?
And he is wonderful. He volunteers at the rejuvenation, the AIDS rejuvenation retreat, the Light of Lights. I mean, Jim, we could not do it without Jim.
And for those of you who don't know, CCL's main charity is the AIDS group. My brother died of AIDS, and so when I found out that there was groups that were helping people who were living with it, because there was a period of time there that people weren't living with AIDS, they were dying with AIDS. But now, thanks to all of the volunteers and all of the people, folks are living, and it's so exciting. So we have a wonderful rejuvenation retreat 4 times a year that our wonderful Dr. Janet Childwood puts on, and brings in people from all over. And so if you haven't heard of it, you know anybody who's HIV positive, please see Janet. She can help you with anything.
I'll bring some flyers in here.
Yeah, you've got flyers.
I do have flyers for next week.
Yeah, so that's
In January.
Or a caretaker.
Yeah.
Or caretakers or loved ones. or
Yes,
families.
April.
It's for
Well,
everybody.
I just wanted to remind people, speaking of Janet, if they enjoyed the meditation and the healing, that they could come tomorrow night to our meditation, because we'll be doing it again, and we do it monthly. And it's in the program, but I know it wasn't mentioned.
And it's the beginning of the year peace meditation, and it's going to be here at, is 7 o'clock? It's 7 o'clock here, and our wonderful Janet plays the guitar, and it's wonderful. Yes, Patty?
Don't forget Light of Lights.
We already announced it, yes. Yeah, thank you so
And
very
it is
much.
from 7 to 9.
From 7 to 9.
9.
Okay, and we're going to pass you a basket, so if you have money in your pocket and you'd like to donate some, we'd appreciate it. And we're going to have you learn a new song. Are you ready for this?
Oh, a new one?
Yeah,
Giving
same
to the
one.
ministry.
Giving to the ministry, from which we receive our spirit.